Hello again, everyone. Today's video, let me ask you a question. Are you preparing for one of the English language ability tests, or are you just trying to improve your English? For sure, somewhere in there, whatever you're doing, English writing becomes part of what you need to do. In this video, we're going to be discussing punctuation. Do I hear you say, what exactly do you mean by punctuation, Sandy? Yeah, okay, I'll take that as a question. And let me tell you, punctuation is a series of symbols that we use in our writing to make it very clear exactly what we're trying to say. As simple as that. In fact, it's probably much easier to demonstrate what I'm talking about, and that way you might understand it better. So let's take a look. Let's just take a look at this paragraph. Somebody has written this and they've neglected to put any punctuation in it at all. Can you read that at all? What do you think? It's not so easy, is it? Trying to follow this through and decide where sentences start and finish, etc. No, it's not nearly so easy. So let us put some punctuation to this paragraph and let's look at it again. Now we can see that the sun was setting and painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. It cast a golden glow on the landscape, making everything look magical and serene. I could feel the cool breeze on my skin and a soft, peaceful feeling welled up inside of me, and I could read what I had written. So now you see how good it is to have perfect punctuation when we're writing English. Not every language in this world uses punctuation, but certainly in English, your punctuation has got to be spot on if you want to be fully understood with what you're saying. So now let's move on and start examining some of the basic punctuation principles and how to use them. If you follow these guidelines I'm giving you, then you will end up with super punctuation. Let's take a look. Let's start at the very beginning. And according to an old but very popular song, starting at the very beginning is a very good place to start. And to make things easy for our readers, we want to let them see very, very easily where each sentence we write starts and finishes. So how will we do that? We will start with a capital letter and we will finish with a full stop. This applies to every sentence we write, no matter how short or how long. If we write a one-word sentence like stop, we've got a capital S, and after the P we've got a full stop. Or if we write a sentence that's 3 lines long, a big, long, complex, compound sentence, we still start it with a capital letter and we finish it with a full stop. Yes, you've got it. So now we're moving on to talk about apostrophes. And what do we use apostrophes for? We use apostrophes in contractions or to show possession. So let me explain what we mean about contractions and possession and the use of apostrophes. Firstly, contractions. A contraction is a shortened form of 2 words where 1 or more letters are omitted, and an apostrophe is often used to indicate the missing letters. Contractions are commonly used in English to make speech and writing more concise and conversational. There are many contractions that we can use both in writing and in conversation, but here are just a few examples so that you can understand what I'm talking about. For instance, here, I am hungry equals I'm hungry, and we've contracted the I am to I'm. You are beautiful. You're beautiful. They are talking. They're talking. I cannot believe it. I can't believe it. It is nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you. So there we are. That's us talked about contractions. Now let's just look quickly at the possessional aspect of the use of apostrophes. Let's take this example, Jane's new telephone. You see the apostrophe there, which means that the telephone that they're talking about belongs to Jane. The red one is Tom's car. Once again, you see Tom with the apostrophe S, meaning it's his car. I think this is Mum's jacket, which is Lucy's room. So there you get the idea about using apostrophes when we're talking about possessions of people. Let's now talk about questions, because questions are important. That's how we get the information we need to know. Quite often you might ask friends or people on your telephone or on your computer, etc., how you can do something or where you can find something. And when you're typing questions to people, you always complete the sentence with a question mark. And if you complete your sentence with a question mark, then you do not use a full stop. Questions: are you hungry? Question mark. Have you been to London? Question mark. What time shall we meet? Question mark. When is the last train? Question mark. When we're asking questions, we use the question mark. Simple, yes? Okay, and we're now going to talk about the exclamation mark, a very useful symbol. We use an exclamation mark at the end of a sentence to display a strong emotion about something, or maybe excitement about something, or give a sense of urgency to what we're saying in the sentence. Once again, if we're using this in writing and we put it in the end of a sentence, we dispense with the full stop. So let's look at some examples of the exclamation mark. That was fantastic! Exclamation mark. You could feel the excitement. I was really worried about you! Exclamation mark. You should never have gone alone! Exclamation mark. I am really looking forward to the holiday! Exclamation mark. Don't you ever do that again! Exclamation mark. You get the idea on how to use exclamation marks, I hope. So now I'd like to start talking about commas. Commas are a very useful item that we use in English punctuation. One of the uses for commas are to separate a number of items, such as if we look here, if there's only two items, my favorite colors are red and green. But if we had more colors that we also liked, we could say my favorite colors are red, comma, green, comma, yellow and blue. There you will see that we've used the conjunction between the last two items and. Similarly, I am studying maths, comma, physics and biology. Whereas the use of commas to separate items is fairly straightforward, there is something that I'd like to make you aware of, and that is the Oxford comma. What do I mean by the Oxford comma? Well, if we look at these sentences here, can you spot an extra comma? My favorite colors are red, comma, green, comma, yellow, red, comma, and blue. Now I've only put these in red to emphasize them. These are the Oxford commas. Some people very much like to use these and some people don't like to use these. just a matter of interest, I've never used these before, and I was taught not to. But there again, now you can use them by choice. The only thing I would say is both, it doesn't alter the aspect of the sentence is the same, both aspects are acceptable, but I would say to you, if you want to adopt the use of the Oxford comma, then you should be consistent about it. You should always use it, and that way there's never any confusion. If you don't wish to use the Oxford comma, once again, be consistent, do not use it. Just come down to the conjunction and. Okay, that's the Oxford comma. Okay, now for something just a little bit more complex. Once again, the comma, a very useful comma. We sometimes use it to separate independent clauses. What do I mean? Well, an independent clause contains a verb and a subject and expresses a complete thought. We also know this as a simple sentence. Therefore, it is a sentence. If two or more independent clauses are joined to make a compound sentence, then we use a comma and a conjunction at the junction of the two sentences. Now, to move on to the conjunctions themselves, there's a way that we learn what the conjunctions are, and it comes under a name that people use to remember them called fanboys. And the conjunctions that we use to join simple sentences together are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So that's where the fanboys come from. Now let me give you a couple of examples here. Look at these sentences. Sarah enjoys swimming. Her brother prefers playing football. There's two very simple sentences there. But let's change it to a compound sentence, which is a sentence that contains more than one independent clause. So, Sarah enjoys swimming, comma, but her brother prefers playing football. Wow! We've just done a major aspect there. We've changed two simple sentences into one compound sentence. Another one, he lives in a big house. She has a small apartment. Once again, two independent clauses, and we want to join them together. So, he lives in a big house, comma, and she has a small apartment. We've done it again. So I hope you get the idea there. It's fairly basic, it's not difficult, and it certainly improves your English ability as far as writing is concerned, very much so. Now to a brief introduction to the semicolon. The semicolon can be used similarly to a conjunction. It's used when closely related independent clauses can be combined into a compound sentence. Here are some examples. John is a teacher, semicolon. Susan is a student. I love blueberries, semicolon. He loves strawberries. Ben doesn't eat meat, semicolon. He is a vegetarian. So it's I would say it's an underused aspect, but it makes life a bit easier, and it should only be used really when you've got closely related independent clauses. Okay, now we're going to talk about the colon, which is used very extensively actually, and we use a colon to introduce a list of items. So here are some examples. The market has many different fruits, colon, apples, comma, pears, comma, bananas and cherries. I like many activities, colon, golf, comma, swimming, comma, bowling and cricket. And finally, my ice cream favourites are, colon, vanilla, comma, strawberry and chocolate. Wow. Okay, for the final part of this video, I just want to discuss quotation marks and quotations. So these you see here are quotation marks, and we use these when we are writing direct speech. And what I mean by direct speech, I mean we are actually using the words that were used in the statement. So we're quoting someone, or we're making a quotation of what was actually said, so we have to put that inside quotation marks. So let's just summarize on what I'm meaning here. Direct speech is the speech that was actually used. You might be quoting somebody that you've listened to and you're quoting them exactly as they've said something. You might be making a direct quote from a book or a newspaper, or you might just be quoting something that somebody said, but you're using the exact words. If you're not using the exact words and you are just saying what was said in another way, then we're using indirect speech. And then in that case, we do not need to use the quotation marks as though it was the exact words that were being used. Here's some examples here. Let's look at the direct speech first. I am going to get the bus home. That's the statement, and it's in quotation marks. The teacher said, "Everyone sit down." So the teacher used those exact words to tell everyone to sit down. Now if we're saying these things again, but we're just reporting what was said, indirect speech. He said he would get a bus home. Yep, no problem. That's indirect speech. The teacher told everyone to sit down. Yep, it's not the direct quote of what the teacher said. So I hope that's clear. It's not difficult, but it's just something you need to remember in your writings. If you're going to be giving direct speech, what somebody's actually said, the words that were actually said at the time, then you must put them in quotation marks. Well, there we have it. Simple punctuation. It's not difficult, but you just need to think about when you're doing your writing, particularly your punctuation, because that's when it really, really matters. Good punctuation guides your readers through what you're saying and makes it very easy to understand. Another very good way to practice punctuation is when you're reading. Look at the punctuation on the page that you're reading as well. See how it's being presented. If you see somebody quoting something has been said, have they put the quotation marks there, etc. Check these things, have a look at them, make sure you've got them embedded in your mind. Many students let themselves down on the day, a little bit anyway, by poor punctuation. Don't let that be you. Thanks for watching. See you next video.